is an excellent cook. We married, and I was cooking for many, many years before we married because I was not home. I went from home to academy, to college, and then I went to Puerto Rico from La Sierra, and I had an apartment, and I was cooking all the time. My wife, that was in her forte, and one day she got really, really upset for food. And she said, I'm going to learn how to cook. So she went to culinary school and she became a chef. And that was the last time I teached her. So it's good to have you all here. Today we are going to have 3 presentations. And one of them will be honoring Black History Month. It started February 1st. And it's not that we are trying to do that, but it's going to be a recipe that came from Africa. And I said, how can I connect this with what we're going to be doing? Oh yes, we can call it Black History Month. So it's very simple. And then we have some lasagna. That it was a teaser to come back because he shared that in the last meeting we had. And then we're going to have another dessert.
It's an all-purpose dish. You can have it for dessert if you want.
There you go.
We have the breakfast.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can have it for everything. I mean, even the dish that I'm going to share with you it was introduced into the Caribbean by the slaves that were transported from Africa. And the way I became acquainted with this dish is because they used this dish for people who went to work in the sugarcane fields. It was hefty. So you can eat it at the end of the day or at the beginning because it will carry you through the whole day. So, well, we're glad that you're here. We're going to open with a word of prayer. And the good Lord that we're here, and then we'll have each one of the presenters.
I think we got a question right there.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, brother.
Could you remember my granddaughter Hannah in prayer?
Who?
Hannah,
Hannah. What happened?
she went to the hospital with a heart issue.
Oh. Sorry. Yeah. She okay? I mean, are they taking care of her? How old is Hannah?
26.
I remember we were talking about that name.
We were just,
Yeah, talking about that name today, just now. So, you will pray for Hannah. Gracious Heavenly Father, we are here, family, around the table, to share with everybody about what we can do with what you have given us as food in a different way. Help us to have a good time and to enjoy the company. Bless us today, Lord, and we uplift Hannah to you. She's in the hospital having issues with her heart, and I pray that you will bring to her assistant the right doctor, you put the right personnel there, and that she will be well taken care of. Bless her. Bless our brother as he is experiencing the sadness of seeing the kids getting sick, Lord. And if anybody's sick here, we place them in your hands. We thank you because we have people here that have gone through procedures and they're doing well. And we thank you for that, Lord. In the meantime, Lord, we place all our burdens at your feet at this moment. In Jesus' name, Amen. And you introduce yourself.
Lasagna, but yeah, I think everybody kind of needs the recipe in case you want to make notes on it. And I was going to kind of do this all step by step, but because of the time and everything, I made the filling ahead of time. And the filling, of course, using tofu, you can make. Am I not connected?
Well, I'm not getting signal from you, but you're turned on.
But you can make this, even the night before, and then use it, or you can just make it right when you need it. It doesn't matter. And on the recipe, I put some measurements on there. Like on the filling, the 4 teaspoon salt, and the garlic. I like to use the garlic granules instead of garlic powder because it doesn't end up in a blob in one place. You can sprinkle it out. And there I am. But these measurements are kind of guesstimates. You can do it yourself because when I make it, I take 1 block of tofu, I put it in there, and then I just sprinkle the garlic powder and take a pinch of salt and sprinkle it out. So I don't measure any of this, so I think these measurements are pretty close. But anyhow, it's on the filling is the tofu, and I'm assuming that most all of us know that we should use organic tofu. Otherwise, you're dealing with the GMOs and all of that. And the tofu, I guess, I just buy it at Costco because they have the 4-pack, and it's fairly cheaper than most any place you can buy it, and it's organic. And then also I buy the marinara sauce if you're not making it yourself at Costco also, and they have the 2 different kinds. My wife Nancy, she likes this one. I don't care for it as much because it's chunky. And when you're trying to lay down the noodles and everything, it can get kind of bumpy. And this one I like a little better because this one has no tomato paste. It's pretty much just tomatoes and some tomato puree. This one has tomato paste in it. So I just kind of like this better. But anyhow, so I brought both of them just to show you, and I'm just going to mix them, and they all taste kind of the same anyhow. But on this recipe,
Tom, move that bowl from in front of your plate.
Okay. On this recipe, it calls for, generally I use 1.5 jars, and depending, sometimes if it doesn't look full enough, or if it's not covering well enough, I'll use both jars. But generally, it's just 1.5 jars. So I put in a 1/2 jar to start with, and then just mix that out. The lasagna noodles. We buy these at Safeway because it's kind of hard to find lasagna noodles that are organic, unless there's some other ones, but they're real thin and I don't like them as well. So Safeway also used to carry the whole wheat, but we haven't been able to find them. They haven't had them. So this is still wheat, organic wheat, but it's not the whole wheat. So you just have to put the noodles in here. And on this recipe, you notice you don't have to prepare the noodles ahead of time. You don't have to boil them or anything. just set them in there. You got to be able to. Oh. And then you just put in half the tofu mixture, about half of it, whatever.
That's tofu?
This is tofu with spinach. Also on the spinach, if you notice on here, I measured out 2 big handfuls. So that's how I measure the spinach. You buy the spinach in like in the containers, organic spinach, and I just reach in and take 2 big handfuls, put them in the food processor, and pulse them until they get to the consistency that you like. Some people like spinach a little thicker, and others like it, smaller. But, so that's all, based also on how much you like spinach and how green you want it. Of course, once you cook it, it is no longer green, but I just put some more. And I probably won't use as much as the sauce on this one. This pan is just a teeny bit smaller than the one I usually use. The one that's in the oven now, staying warm, is a little bit bigger. It's like a 10 by 13. This is like a 9 by 13. So you just put the marinara in there. And I wish I could find a baking dish that was squared. These are all rounded and beveled and
I wonder if a stainless steel dish would be more,
stainless steel,
would be
but
more
more right-angled type thing. Yeah, I'll have to see if I can find something. Because that way you wouldn't have to break all the noodles and try and fit them in there. Anyhow, you just fit those all in there, add the rest of the tofu. Now this recipe, of course, you can change it and adapt different things. This is a recipe that I started out making quite a few years ago, I guess, and it's over the years has changed. You find something else that you like to put in it, or different spices, or whatever. You can also, add, if you like to have the fake meat, you can incorporate that in there too, but we don't use that, because if you look at the ingredients in your fake meats, everything is like isolated protein and natural flavors and canola oil and all of these things that are either GMOs or even in the natural flavors, you don't know what that natural flavor is. So we just try and stay as close as we can just to the no processed things, except we have the noodles and the tofu, but then just add some more sauce. Is that church phone? Okay, and that's that. And then for the cheese, it takes a cup of water, a cup of cashews. Now, of course, when you're using a Vitamix, you don't necessarily have to soak the cashews, but I always soak them. It just makes them blend up better and smoother and quicker, actually. And so all the spices that were on there, garlic powder, salt, onion powder, and nutritional yeast. Of course, that had to all stick there. Hope you don't mind. And the lemon juice, what we do, we use quite a bit of lemon juice in cooking, because anytime there's a recipe that calls for vinegar or anything like that, we just substitute lemon juice. So stay away from the vinegar. But you know, it became a problem because when we would use, we call for 2 tablespoons of lemon juice or whatever, and you juice a lemon, then you have this leftover lemon, and if you don't use it, they're always going bad. You always had these, bad lemons in the refrigerator that you didn't use. So what we do is we just buy a bunch of lemons, and we have a ice cube tray that holds, it's a little more than a tablespoon, silicone ice cube tray, and just squeeze a whole bunch of lemons and freeze them. And then put them in a baggie, and anytime you need lemon juice, just take them out of the freezer and take 1 or 2 or whatever. So this is basically two cubes of lemon juice.
And a cube is a tablespoon.
Cube is a tablespoon, yeah. And once you blend that, generally, I stick my fingers in there, and so it's not gritty or anything like that. But I guess that's probably not a good thing to do in this type of situation. So, and just pour it on there, and you have to kind of pour it on a little bit thin, because when I do the cheese, I like to make sure that everything is covered, and I guess I like to seal everything, and so the cheese just seals everything off, so you don't have stuff bubbling up through it. And that's pretty much it. Then you cook it, it'll depend on your oven, for 50 to 60 minutes. I generally cook it 55 minutes is what it seems to always work. What I've noticed though with lasagna or any these type of noodles, even when, if we make spaghetti, we like to make spaghetti and then eat it the next day to warm it up. And it's the same with lasagna. Once you cook it and maybe even cook it in the morning, let it sit all day, and heat it up in the evening, or even the following day. Because of the noodles, even like your spaghetti and whatever, fresh spaghetti to me is kind of slimy. And if it sets for a day and then you heat it up again, it's more of a firm type of noodle. So the lasagna that's in the oven I made this morning, and then we're just heating it up again, and so it kind of firms up a little bit better. But that's pretty much it. It's pretty easy. On some of these things, of course, it's up to you as to what you use. Even with the salt. Hopefully you're not using regular table salt. That stuff is poison. And even though it does have the iodine in it, there's not enough iodine in it to give you any health benefit unless you're eating a lot of it, which of course you don't want to be eating a lot of it. But so with the salt that we use is just the Himalayan pink salt. And it's kind of a coarse salt, and they sell big jugs of it at Costco. And so we just buy that, and then I put it in a little, like a bullet type blender, blend it up, and so it's a finer consistency. So if you happen to use, I hope you're not, but if you're using a salt shaker, it will come out of a salt shaker. But we generally don't use, we add a little bit of salt. Right. Yeah, it has all of the minerals. It's, what is it, 48, 58? I'm looking at Joyce because I'm thinking that she's going to tip. How many minerals in the sea salt?
In the pink salt?
Yeah. Well, yeah, any of it is pretty much the same. One generally has a couple minerals less than the other. Well, I looked it up today, but it was like 48 or 58. But even in the Himalayan salt, I was reading an article and saying that it's even a little bit better for you, because if you use the sea salt, it's subject to pollution of the oceans, because it's coming from the oceans. The Himalayan pink salt is coming out more out of the earth, and so it's not subject to contamination as your sea salt is. But 84? Okay, that better. So that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple and easy to make. Do you have any questions or? No? Good.
What would you do to color the cheese so it's more like cheese?
Once it cooks, it comes out a little browner. I guess you could add turmeric to it, or red pepper, or pimentos, or yeah, and
That makes it orange.
yeah,
For that color.
yeah, because eye appeal is a big difference, especially when you go to potlucks and you look at stuff and you go, I'm not eating that stuff. And we had a pastor that used to comment on that. He says, I can't believe the stuff these people bring. And they expect people to actually eat it. You just take one look at it. And our grandkids is kind of funny, because when they, not so much now, but when they were younger, they would take something, and the first thing they would do is they would smell it. And if it didn't smell good, they weren't going to eat it. So anyhow, that's about it.
Thank you. Can you hear me? What's that? I'll use this one right here.
Oh, it's the same.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. It's, you used something in it already, though, didn't you?
No, I mean just the base.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, look at that. People can hear what I'm saying all the way in the back room. Okay, so what I've got here is called a carob blob. Jose, would you pass those out? And I'm going to need one of them, which I have right back here. So some time ago, I was thinking I needed a morning, something to have in the morning, something that would become a staple, something that was easy, and something that was comprised of things that I liked and things that were good and I knew were good for me. So this is what I came up with. And it has minimally processed food in it. It does have one flour in it, so that was processed. So I just happened to be doing some research recently for somebody, and I started to look into processed foods and ultra-processed foods. And there is a definition for that. And how much do you think of the American food supply is processed?
99%.
68% from what I saw, depending on how you would define it. But 58% of the American food supply is what you call ultra-processed. So this is the stuff that you really don't want to eat. It's had all kinds of changes made to the ingredients. You know, it generally has added sugar, added salt, added fat, added oil, usually in some combinations. Has additives of all kinds. That's the ultra-processed stuff that you go into the store and is in the crinkly packages. So that's what I wanted to avoid, and I want to have something that I could use on a regular basis. So I came up with something called a carob blob. The carob was the first one that I wanted to do here. So the first ingredient, I wanted it to be sweet because I wanted a sweet dish. So what I decided to use was dates. Dates are a wonderful source of sweetness, and they're also unprocessed, and they're actually quite good for you. So these particular ones I just got right down here at Winco. So you know a date, I haven't cut the pit out of this one yet. It has that little hard thing on the end, so you want to cut that off of there. And then you just cut it open, and you squeeze the pit right out. I'm just going to grab something to cut with real quick. So you just cut it right down the middle, just like that, enough to make a little incision. I guess that's not the best term for cooking, is it? That's more of a medical term. You cut it in half, kind of, and the pit just comes right out very easily. And by the way, if you ever want natural caramel, these things are so good. Just pop in your mouth and have like a caramel. They're wonderful. So in this particular recipe, I used 7 dates, which I have right here. I'm told this fits right on there. Aha, it does, just like that. Okay, so there's 7 dates right there. And then I had half a cup of applesauce, which I started to buy these, the little containers, because I used to buy the big ones, and I would make some of this, and then I wouldn't make them for a while. And I'd go back in to grab my applesauce, and what was it?
Moldy.
Green. So applesauce isn't supposed to be green, except maybe on St. Patrick's Day, and that's not the day that I was using. So these are great, right? So I can just open this up, pop it in there, off we go. And it stays nice and fresh. So half a cup of applesauce right into the blender. Okay, and then, vanilla. So there's a little story behind the vanilla. I went to the store to get my stuff this afternoon, put the vanilla in my basket, but it never made it home. So I don't know where the vanilla is. If you see it, somewhere between here and Winco, that's my vanilla. But anyway, I just put in a half a teaspoon. It's fine without the vanilla, but vanilla is obviously, if you want something sweet, vanilla is a very good thing to add. And then 2/3 cup of water. Let me grab my measuring cup. it is right there. So 2/3 of a cup of water. There we go. That's all there is to it. And then I'm just going to blend this until it's reasonably smooth. Okay, it's going to...
Before you start it, could you use some fresh apple? And
Oh yeah,
mix fresh apple?
I think so. You probably just have to blend it longer, I would think. But a fresh apple would be, I think in flavor-wise, would be better. I don't know about you, but I prefer... Yeah, give it a try. I'd like to see here. But, you know, some of these nice fresh apples that you have with a nice complex flavor, the sweet and the tangy combining, that's really special. So let me just blend that up. So I don't make it super smooth. I kind of like those little chunks of dates in there. It gets little sweet chunks in this. So that's the wet ingredients. That's going to pour okay, I think. So in the dry ingredients, I'm just going to put in this mixing bowl right here. So flaxseed. Let me grab this right here. Here we go. So you probably know the benefits of flaxseed. Does anybody know what it's really high in? Omega-3. Omega-3, yeah. So we want omega-3 in our diet, definitely. Omega-3 does great things for us, especially our brains. So this is brain food. So I'll just give you a little background on the omega-3. Omega-3, there's basically 3 different kinds that we hear a lot about. The long chain, the term long chain refers to 2 different types of omega-3 that is generally found in fish. And that is one called EPA and one called DHA. So naturally, we don't produce too much EPA and DHA. We need a precursor first, and that would be ALA, alpha-linolenic acid. And that is what we have in flaxseed. So to produce in our bodies EPA and DHA, we have to have this first. So it has to come through our diet. Now, we used to do that through fish, but now what we're discovering is fish is not all that good a thing to eat, right? Because of contaminants, right? Mercury and all kind of other stuff out there. So I'm just going to ground this real quick. So it's important to get your omega-3 every day, and flaxseed is an excellent source of that. You can also do chia seed. Chia seed you can use in a lot of different things. Chia seed is very high as well. So in our bodies, the ALA is converted into EPA and DHA. The thing is, you have to keep doing it because the EPA and DHA will slowly degrade into your system. It actually has a pretty long half-life. But if you don't get the ALA, eventually you'll run out. And then your body's going to have problems. So it's like you need to refuel that every day. Get your flaxseed. Doesn't take a lot. Just a couple of tablespoons, actually, of ground flaxseed per day will get you what you need in terms of your ALA. Okay, what else I have in here? 1 cup of rolled oats, right like that. Yes?
Quick or old-fashioned?
These are old-fashioned, yep. Quick would work too, but old-fashioned are a little less processed, so I go with those. 3/4 cup of ground walnuts. So here's my walnuts right here. So I just buy these in bulk. You can buy them in bulk at different places. I just go right down here to Winco, where I can get them in the bulk, and I just use my little chopper. So this is how I wake up my brother in the morning. This is what he hears. He probably doesn't know what it is because I hide everything by the time he gets down there. So I don't know, but anyway. No, I don't wake him up too much, but I do want to be courteous. So you can grind these like that one. I ground a little bit more, so it got a little bit finer. It depends how chunky you like your walnuts. I like mine kind of chunky, so it gives a little bit of a crunch. Has that good texture. Oh, let's not do that. Seed. That wouldn't be a good thing to crunch into. There we go. So that is the walnuts. Walnuts are another good source of omega-3. Walnuts also have a lot of omega-6. In fact, it has more omega-6 than omega-3. Now, omega-6 is something we need in our diet too, but in general, we get enough omega-6, particularly if we eat something that we buy from the store, because so many of the foods that we have now are made with high omega-6 oils. So it's something to consider. So we know that people who eat too much omega-6 compared to the omega-3 tend to have some pretty real problems with chronic disease like heart disease and diabetes and things like that. But the walnuts here are a good source of both of those, but they're not as concentrated as the oil. Here I chose the flour that I chose to use was tapioca flour. Now there's other ones that you could use. I used this because I wanted to retain more of a moist thing when it came out. And people who know a lot more about cooking than me would probably choose something else, but that's what I came up with. So there's no oil in this. I wanted it to be oil-free. That's why I chose the tapioca flour. And then one of the most important ingredients, it would be a quarter cup of carob flour. So carob is really an amazing food. And let me just put in this half teaspoon of salt, and I'll tell you about carob while I'm stirring this. So that's a little half teaspoon of salt. So carob is really, in my opinion, a superfood. Does anybody know what particularly carob is high in? What's that? B vitamins? It could have B vitamins. I don't know about that, but that wouldn't surprise me. We know that it's protein. It's a bean, right? So it would have good protein. It's very high in fiber. So fiber is a very good thing. Calcium also has a pretty good supply of calcium. That's a thing that really, when I started to research this, the thing that really caught my eye was that it's very high in antioxidants. Particularly, it is very high in a substance called EGCG. So if you look into antioxidants and what is real high, you're going to come across green tea, right, as something that is really high in antioxidants. And so I guess I should tell you what I'm doing. Dry ingredients, wet ingredients, I'm just going to mix these together. So EGCG is thought to be responsible for the health benefits that are derived from drinking a lot of green tea. No, I got one right here. Yep, thank you, Wanda. So I started to look into carob. I discovered that carob is exceptionally high in EGCG. In fact, in terms of other foods, like non-tea foods, it's way high. In fact, it's about 100 times higher than second place. So, in the Bible, there was a guy who ate locust a lot. What was that guy's name? John the Baptist, yeah. So another name for carob, locust. Yeah, so we're wondering, the locust bean or the locust pod, we're wondering if that guy was actually, instead of eating grasshoppers, we're wondering if he wasn't actually eating locust. And when I researched that and saw all the amazing health benefits from carob, I thought, I bet it's carob. I bet it's carob. It makes sense, right? Wouldn't the Lord have him eating just something that was exceptionally healthy? Of course he would. Of course he would. Okay, the last ingredient after I mix those two, then I just add in about a quarter cup of almond butter. Just like that. And then I just mix that in together to make a batter. So this is very much a bachelor's dish. Yeah, actually, I do enjoy it. I like it. So I make these, and then I don't eat them all in the morning, of course, and then I just put them in a container in the refrigerator, and then they serve as cookies later on. I like to bake them in the morning and then put fruit over the top of it, and that turns out really nice. And of course, we don't.
Without baking it?
No, I bake it. Yeah. I never tried it.
Could you eat it without baking?
Oh yes. Yeah. I haven't tried. Maybe I should try it. No, I probably should. Yeah, you could do that. What was that?
I said, have you ever eaten cookie dough before?
Cookie dough. Are you saying this is cookie dough?
No.
This, I know, bears a slight resemblance to cookies, but I mean, that would be wrong to eat cookies in the morning, so I wouldn't recommend it.
No baked oatmeal cookies.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Where'd you get your almond butter?
The almond butter, I got at Winco too, the freshly ground stuff. You could put the little package under there and then grind it. So that's where I got the almond butter. There's all different kinds, but that has no other ingredients. It's just almonds ground up. And the almond butter, others that I found are good as well, but they usually have salt and have the oil floating on top, and then you have to stir it up, and the oil gets down the sides and gets on my hands and stuff. I don't know. So here's what I do: is I like to cook it on parchment paper. So I just take about half a cup of the batter and just blob it right on there, just like that. I have to get a little water. Excuse me. So I like to have the fork and just get a little bit wet, and then you can form this just how you like it. Now you can keep it just like that, and that's the way I made it originally, thinking that it would be more moist inside because it didn't have as much surface area exposed and it wouldn't get as crunchy. And that works pretty good, but what I discovered was it started to get a little burnt on the points of it. So what I did was I just flattened it out, just like this. And then it's really not a blob anymore, so probably need a different name. But then I just did it like that, and then after I cook it for about 25 minutes at 350, but after 10 minutes I just turn it over, and that way it didn't get burnt. Yes? Mm-hmm.
There's a roasted carob and not roasted. Which would you prefer in that recipe?
You know, I haven't tried the two different ones.
Which one did you use?
This is roasted. Yeah, this is roasted. I got it.
Have a more robust flavor with the roasted.
It would?
But some people like the milder flavor.
Right. So the question was roasted or unroasted carob flour, and this is roasted carob flour. And comment was that it would probably be more robust with this kind, but it'd be interesting to try. So that's all there is to that. And like I said, it bears a strange resemblance to cookies, but we all know that it would be wrong to eat cookies for breakfast. So that, hence the name breakfast blobs, or you could call them carob patties. Now, I would say this. At the bottom of this, I put that pumpkin blobs are especially good. So if you want to substitute pumpkin puree for the applesauce, really nice. Better than this, in my opinion. So if those pumpkins you grow, puree those, throw them in the freezer, and then you can make these, add a little cardamom to it, really good. Or any other spices that you like with pumpkin. I also made it with raspberry. You can do it with all kinds of fruit. It's versatile, and you can stick them in your refrigerator, and they are excellent all the time. Like I said, I would call them a multi-purpose food, something you could stick in your lunch too. And season to taste with cardamom for the pumpkin. Do you have any questions about breakfast carob blobs?
Is there a difference between light and dark flaxseed?
Not much.
Nutritional.
Yeah, I looked it up. It was pretty negligible. I think there might be a slight difference in flavor. The lighter stuff seems...
Golden flaxseed better than
Yeah, the golden stuff is the one I have, and I store this I just store it in the freezer in this. That way I can keep it fresh. You do have to be careful about flaxseed becoming rancid, because it has all that oil in there, so it will become rancid, and then it turns into actually something pretty bad. Instead of something really good, it turns into... What's that? It would, yes. Given long enough, yes, it will. Yeah. Yeah, well, seems to, but it will break, anything breaks down eventually, and it will. Now, the refrigerator is definitely going to slow down that process, and the freezer would slow it down even more, but that would happen. Now, if you grind it, you're going to speed up the process, obviously, because the more surface area, so yeah. So all kinds of good omega-3 and stuff in here, and enjoy your carrot blobs. Thank you.
I will. What I'm going to demonstrate today is what my ancestors got from Africa. Africans grow plantains. Many people go to the store and say, what in the world is this? A green banana, some people just call it. This is plantain. Plátano, which is, if you let it ripe and you cut it, and you even put it in your oven, you cut it and take the skin out and put it in your oven, they taste delicious. Well, the texture is very soft. It's different, yes.
How does a plantain grow?
It's like banana tree. It's just another type of banana. They grow in big bunches like this. When we used to stop at the edge of the street, of the road, when I say we, is a group of guys, or we went to the beach, we look for stuff like this in the yards of the people. And you said, hey, can I borrow, or can I take a couple of the bananas that you have there? Or the plantains, plátanos, we call it in Spanish. And they will say, sure. And then they will let you take it, and then you look for a can and you boil them. This thing is not filling my hand. I have a hand that is not fixable by this. So anyway, you take this and you, if you look at the recipe that is there, and I will give it to you because you will. If you look in the internet, it will say if you put mofongo, that's the name of what I'm going to show to you, mofongo, which is a name, African name. You will, they say to fry it. We boil it. We don't make it fried. And it was used by the agricultural workers the cut sugar cane as an energy food. They will give it to you in the morning, 5 o'clock when you get up, or 4 o'clock before you went out, or when you came back at 3 from work. You get that. You'll get banana. You cut the end of the banana. Let me see if I can get here.
Do you want a cutting board?
If you have one, I'll take it. Thank you. Yeah. You cut it like this. This is how it looks inside. And then you just go like this. And you open it like this. This is a plantain. This is it. And by the way, when you are making a lot of this, your fingers tend to stain. Okay, so you can see the grandmas and the ladies in the island with their fingers all stained if they did this, or green banana. They will eat green banana too. This is very simple. Once you cut it, you boil it, and this is what it's going to look like. Okay? This is boil. It's just boil. And you put salt in the water. You put salt. It can be the one that he talked about, or salt. Just put salt, and it will look like this. And then I want to tell you this. This is one of the utensils of any Puerto Rican kitchen that they pass from generations to generations. I have, and I didn't bring it because it's fragile, my grandma's pilon. This is the mortar. I have my grandma's because in Puerto Rico, they will eat this inside here. They put a bowl in here, and they put vegetable broth, and then you eat it. Because this, after you use it many years, it have the garlic taste in the wood. And it really tastes yummy. Okay? So, you put this here. And I did cook with olive oil, saute some onions, some garlic. I put it inside. I put it in the big bowl that I have here. I put them all in here. It looks ugly if you like pretty, but it tastes good if you like yummy. Okay? You have to understand this is food that was made for people to eat out in the boonies, and very simple. And the reason I'm showing this because right now all you have is plantain. That's it. It's plantain with garlic and onions and mash. And if you can get any more natural than that, just let me know. And you mash it. In our country, we keep the water of the plantain, and we put it to make it softer. and you keep mashing it till it becomes like that. And that's technically it. When you taste it, you're gonna go, what in the world is, why does it taste so good? I mean, in my palate really like it. It's very, now one thing I want to tell you this, you don't want to eat this a full plate, because we make big bowls of this with a salad around. You don't want to eat this too late at night, because this is very hard to digest during the night. This is for people that have been working, so usually if I eat this, I eat it in the morning, not after 3 o'clock, because it will take time for that to digest. It will sustain you, but it's something that takes time to digest, because it's heavy. It's heavy. Yes?
Nutritional value.
Nutritional value has a bunch of starch, and it has the same nutritional value of a green banana. Well, it has the garlic. This is the fancy way of doing it when you do it outside. I mean, this is something that we will do outside while you're camping or you're hiking or you're, because there's so many bananas. I went to the rainforest in Puerto Rico, and I came across a tree, a plantain tree. And I went and I cut 2, and I put it in my pocket. And then when I got to my campsite, I boiled it. I cut it in pieces, boil it, mash it, like you're making like mashed potatoes, but it will be like mashed bananas. And then I put a little garlic and a little oil, olive oil, and I mashed it so it becomes soft, and then you eat it. And you eat it, it tastes good. Yes?
Bananas we usually think of as a fruit.
It is a fruit.
And so is plantain a fruit or more like
It is a fruit. Yeah, it's more like, no, it's a fruit by definition. But it's like the tomato that it's a fruit also, and we treat it like a veggie, you know? So that's what it is. By the way, you can go to Winco, you can go to Safeway, you can go to a lot of the supermarkets, and they will have plantains. They will have plantains. If you find them yellow, you can still use it, but not for this. If they're yellow, you can cut the top, the bottom, and you can put it in a skillet, one of those non-stick, and you can just heat it up there back and forth, and you can eat it like that. You cannot get any more natural than that. No oil, because it's non-stick. You don't have to put the oil, and you just move it around. It will get, because they're not round, they actually will get here, and then when you put it on the other side, it will get done on both sides, and they taste really, really good. In the Caribbean, we eat a lot of the staples that they used to eat in Africa. This is one of them. The other one is yuca. You know, the yuca. It's a root. Jautia, which is another root. We used to eat a lot of roots that, if you read in the Bible, they were probably assigned for the animals to eat after the sin came into the world. They give it to us. But that is things that people used to eat. You put yuca, for example. You take the yuca, you cook it the way you will boil it and do all that. And then you can put olive oil, and then you can mix it and cut it in pieces and mix it with a salad. Tomatoes, lettuce, and just mix it and put olive oil, and then you just eat it like that. It's like, and we used to do that too. It's simple, one dish that covers the veggies and some starch, you know, and this is the working man food when they are in the field. Yes?
Does the plantain have potassium like a banana?
Yes, it will have potassium. And if you want to find what it's good for, it's probably a good potassium source. I don't believe it has as much potassium when it's green. Yeah, I think it will increase in value, potassium value, as it gets more ripe.
Can you eat it like a banana when it's ripe?
Oh yeah. You can eat it. Don't expect the flavor of the banana because this is really high starch. It's hard. It's more starchy than a banana. Okay. Have you seen the little bananas? You see the finger bananas in the supermarket? When they get really, really, really ripe, you peel them off, you put it in a skillet, and they melt and then you can put it in a cup and eat it. They are like candy. So if you want to offer somebody a dessert that is only heated up the banana and put it in a cup, people can eat it like they're eating, and they're really, really sweet. Okay? Very, very sweet. So any other questions about bananas and big bananas and the existence of them? And we grow around this thing. So for us, it's like a second nature. You know, he was talking about carob. We have carobs in Puerto Rico. Carob, when it's raw and it's in the plant, stinks. Really stinks. If you see what you get and you see how it is and how it stinks. I mean, so what we do, we got it, and you say, why a kid will go after carob? Because the seeds of the carrots are big inside. It has seeds inside the pot. And we use those seeds, we drill a hole with a metal, and we use it to play. We put it and then the other guy has to hit it. And we try to treat them before for to be hard. So you can have a seed of a carrot, and then you say, how many fights you have in yours? And we used to get it, and then when you get the carrots out, you eat it and you hold your nose, and it's really sweet. If you can get past the smell, yes. So I grew up around eating carob outside. We had 14 acres of land that we used to go, leave in the morning, 6 boys, and never came back till the end of the day. And my mom will say, you guys ate? Oh yeah, we ate. You know, we ate whatever we found. We ate guava, we ate papaya, we ate plantain, we ate whatever we found. And what about fire? You always carry your lighter, and there's plenty of sticks that we can put together, clean around, and cook. And then if you don't have a pot, you go for an higuera, which is a hard shell fruit like this. You cut it, and it's hard when it's already past the eating time. You clean it inside, and it will hold fire, and you can put water and cook in there. So so now you know that I came from the wild, wild west. I grew up in Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands, and the Caribbean, and there is a lot of the African influence in our culture. Any other question? Any question? We have some of these to give you, and we will pass. I'm not going to give you this one unless I really work on it. So we have a little bowl that we will give you. This probably needs to be heated up because it's really, really cold. Yeah, it needs to be nuke. Okay, well, I think it's time to eat. Yes, you like that?
We're making up the plates.
Yeah.
Everybody will just have their own plate. We'll bring them right out here. A few minutes, and we'll have this up for you.
Actually, how many plantains did you use for servings in your recipe?
Oh, you can use one plantain. Well, 2 plantains will serve 1 person. You know, and you just mash it and do that. My wife bought, we use for all this 9 plantains, you know. There's another, this is adobo. Have you heard the word adobo before? Adobo. This doesn't have pepper. All it has is garlic, granulated garlic, turmeric, and oregano. Okay? This is grandma's seasoning. This is my grandma, my family all grew up using this.
Oh, where'd you get that?
I think we got this in Eugene, in a Hispanic store. We bought like 5.
Oh, okay.
By the way, today, if you're going to find yuca, it's hard. You don't find yuca that is fresh. I mean, it's hard to find it. You might find 1 or 2 in what is this store that was owned by Adventists down in Vancouver, Battleground. Chuck, thank you. You find sometimes in their veggie area some, but I haven't found any. Goya, this brand, will make it frozen, and then you can use that.
They won't make that frozen?
No, frozen the yuca. They have a lot of those roots. They have food. They freeze them, and then you can use them. They're not the same when you take it natural, you know. So I'm sharing this because we think that everybody eats like we do. And there's other places where natural eating is natural. That's what they do. We used to stop, and I'm just talking because I'm giving them time to do all this, with a group of pastors. Our breakfast was to stop in a market outside market. They have all the fruits, and then you start eating. As you talk, you go around and you grab a banana and you grab an avocado and you put this, and then you eat it with your knife. And then he said, "Oh, give me $10 or $5 for everybody." You know, and then we go to the pastor's meeting, and that was probably our food for the morning. Just stop. What are we going to eat? Oh, we'll stop by the market. You know. And Sundays morning, before everybody walked up in the house, you go to the market, to the big market where everybody brings all the fruits and vegetables from the whole island in the morning. And stinks. The place is really stinky. But you go and you buy everything that they produce right from the market, and you take it to your house, and that's what you eat for the whole week. You know. And many times in the side of the road, you stop, and from the window, you say, "Can I have those fruits there? Can I have those?" And they will give it to you in a bag, and then you pay them, and then you go. And that's how you avoid taxes. Because they give you, Puerto Rico, we didn't grow with taxes, then they included the taxes. And what they do is a lot of the market people in the street will sell you a price they give you two prices. One is if you pay them with a card, because they have this electronic, now they just stick the card in and or if you pay them cash, they take away the taxes. They don't charge you the taxes. So you think the cheating was invented in the U.S.? No way. It was invented in many countries. Okay, I think they're getting ready. They're coming around. In the meantime, I'm leaving the place.